I've read somewhere or someone told me, when Mother Nature is your business partner, you never know what to expect. And so that's really something that I think about a lot in the context of climate change and how it's going to impact my future as a farmer.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Casey. We are so thankful that you're here talking with us today. And I also wanted to thank you for being a member of the Drawdown Georgia Leadership Council. So to start, for those that don't know you yet, I thought you could tell us a little bit about yourself and your farm, Longleaf Ridge Farm in Camilla, Georgia.
Sure. Well, Blair, thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this series. And it's such an honor to get to share my perspective and definitely to serve on the Leadership Council for Drawdown Georgia. I'm actually the sixth generation of my family to farm here in Southwest Georgia. And our farm is right on the Flint River. So has a really special place in my heart as well. And certainly it is what fostered a lot of my love for conservation and stewardship. We grow sweet corn and peanuts, field corn, soybeans, and timber. Actually, over half of our farm is in timber, which some of it we manage commercially, and then a good bit of it we actually manage just ecologically and have some really lovely longleaf pine trees and longleaf pine ecosystem that our farm is named after. I actually majored in natural resource conservation in college, so that was a really fun major, and I learned so much through that. And then right after college, instead of going back to the farm right away, I worked for our local conservation district, the Flint River Soil and Water Conservation District, for about 6 years, and then I transitioned into the farm full time, and in the process of learning from my dad now, which has been fun. But I just don't know how I'm ever going to learn everything that he has in his head.
Wow, 6 generations. That's pretty amazing. Can you talk a little broadly about just how you think about the role of conservation on your land, both in the forestry sector as well as in the traditional kind of ag sector?
Yes, absolutely. This is something that I'm just so passionate about and always really enjoy talking about. The way that my parents really raised me and how we look at this across the land, both from the farm operations side, just from our land management, is really thinking about conservation in the context of stewardship. And the actual technical definition of stewardship is the careful and responsible management of something that one has been entrusted to. And that's really how we view our role with the farm. I really feel like the general concept of conservation and the natural resources that we depend on the farm is really the connecting thread between my heritage of 6 generations and then, of course, my future. My livelihood in the future completely depends on the conservation of our farm and our natural resources and taking care of our land. And another really important aspect of this, and not just the longleaf pines, but being adjacent to the Flint River and growing up on the Flint River gave me really valuable perspective around the intersection of what we do for a living on the farm and the ecosystem and the ecosystem services that are provided by this incredible landscape that we have all around us.
I know when we think about climate and the farm community, it's really easy to just focus on the impacts. But one thing that I find really hopeful about Drawdown Georgia is that we are looking for solutions across our economy, including solutions that intersect with our ag community here in Georgia, whether that's things like conservation agriculture or silvopasture, which, as you know, is just planting trees on pasture and ag land. So when you think about the role agriculture can play in reducing carbon emissions and being part of the solution, where do you think? What do you think are the most promising opportunities here in Georgia?
I really want to emphasize that each farm is different. So what works on my farm may not even work on my neighbor's farm. And that's why there's so much complexity involved with it, because I think one of the dangers that we get when the agricultural community is not involved in this conversation is people see something that just sounds perfect. So that's where we really need to bring in our research community and our experts, as well as the stakeholders and the farmers that are part of that community and can share their own experiences and some of the limitations that we have. For example, I love the idea of getting an electric truck for the farm. I just got a hybrid farm truck, which I was very excited about. And then a month later, they came out with the electric F-150. And I was like, darn it. But honestly, it would probably, even if I were able to get that, I might wind up 100 miles from home with absolutely no infrastructure to support that type of thing, because we just don't really have that kind of infrastructure in rural Georgia yet to promote some of those technologies and solutions. So I think that's a really important thing to keep in mind as well, that we may be limited by infrastructure as much as we are by the diversity of our farm operations. I'm really interested in irrigation efficiency. That's something that I worked a good bit in when I was at the conservation district. And so I love the idea of using technology and sensors and data to make better irrigation decisions and use less water, use less energy to power those systems. And so that's a small step we can take on our farm, but that's something that other farms can do as well and are doing. If you had told me 10 years ago that some of our most productive agricultural land in my community would be converted into these massive solar fields, I would not have even known what to think. And that's what's happening. And so that's an opportunity to be really strategic about conversion and thinking about those landscape scale changes. You have to be careful because you don't want to take out all the productive agricultural land, but be strategic about converting some of the land that may not be ideal for agriculture.
You spoke about it a little bit here, but I was wondering if you had additional thoughts just about the role of the ag voice in this space.
Well, I appreciate this question because I'm very, very passionate about this. Agriculture is the number one industry in Georgia. It contributes about $76 billion a year to our state's economy. It's critical to our state as a whole, but especially our rural communities. Our rural communities would really struggle if we didn't have such a thriving agricultural economy here in Georgia. So anything that threatens our livelihoods or this economic engine across our state has to be taken seriously. And the people who are on the ground and who are running their farm operations and businesses and people who are in the associated industries, they understand that better than anyone. And I just think it is so critical to give them a seat at the table, to give them a voice. And it really would help foster a sense of trust and partnership to build solutions with input from farmers and people in the ag industry, because we know limitations and challenges that others outside of our industry may not understand in the context of this conversation. And I really believe that the future of agriculture and the future of Georgia are tied together. We all care about this state and our natural resources and the people in the communities that make us thrive. So I really am passionate about working to build solutions together and include the agricultural voice as much as possible. Mother Nature and I are business partners. I rely on her and everything that is happening from that climate change perspective and that extreme perspective, we're going to have to learn how to navigate.
Well, thank you, Casey. It has been such a pleasure talking with you, and we really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Blair.